Good morning, y'all. So, for everybody who's out of town this weekend or who wasn't able to make it to Sunday school with us this morning, I wanted to give you a quick recap of what we talked about. And to do that, I'm actually going to tell you guys a story. So, my dad has two daughters. Shout out to all the girl dads out there because I know we can give y'all a lot of trouble sometimes. But in my family, it's me and my sister Cass. Now, my dad growing up always told us that whenever we graduated from high school and we were ready to go to college, that he would pay for us to get degrees if we could keep our grades up. Of course, this was crazy generous. College is super expensive. And so whenever my sister graduated from high school, she had saved her money, was crazy appreciative, and kept straight A's all through college. I, however, was a bit different. Money burned a hole in my pocket. From the days when I was a little kid and I would get $5 for an allowance each week, I had to spend it immediately. And my sister, on the other hand, she was the one who was diligently saving, putting it in her piggy bank, and she'd have like $100, and I would sit there penniless. And so when my turn to graduate came around, I asked for the money that would go towards tuition so that I could travel to my heart's content. I didn't want to plan ahead for my life. I really didn't want to go to college. I didn't think it was in the cards for me. I just wanted to live my life, and I wanted to have some fun with it. And so my dad gave me what he gave my sister for college, and he let me go on my merry way. And I lived life to the fullest, just like I wanted to do. I bought first-class plane tickets. I traveled the world. I stayed in expensive hotels. I threw the best parties for my friends. And I was convinced that 100% this was the way that life was supposed to be lived. Now, as you have all probably already learned, even at your young ages, I got the slap in the face that money does not grow on trees. My money ran out pretty quickly, especially at the rate that I was spending it. I found myself far from home, no education. My friends had left me when my money ran out. I couldn't make my car payment. I couldn't pay for my fancy apartment anymore because I couldn't pay the high rent, and I was too embarrassed to even reach back out to my dad or my mom for any kind of help. I was desperate for a job. But of course, I didn't have any job experience or education because I never went to college, and so I was left to pick up odd jobs here and there that I really never envisioned myself taking. I couldn't imagine things getting any worse, and I was living day to day trying to figure out how to make ends meet on my own. Every day I would lay down and I would think about my family. I thought about just how much I missed them, how much I missed sitting around the dinner table with them, going to TJ Maxx with my mom, just hanging out with my sister. And when I thought about her, I knew that she had to be doing great things at college, and I was convinced that she, in fact, had made the right choice on how to live her life. I sometimes even wondered if they missed me at all, if they even thought about me, or if they were just glad to get rid of me, because after all, I had taken their money, left without reaching out to them. I didn't even send them postcards from where I traveled. I mean, if I were them, I would have taken all the family photos down with me in them and pretended like I didn't exist. But then I remembered something. Whenever I moved out, while I was working at all of these jobs, while I was trying to get money from all of these odd jobs here around town, I was barely making it on my own. I remembered that my dad had actually started up his own business right before I left for all of my trips. He had been looking for people willing to help him, and he was paying them really well for their work. And so I gathered up my courage. I spent all I had on a bus ticket back to my hometown, and I started working on this speech. I was going to tell my dad why he should hire me, why I should work for him. Of course, I wouldn't take any more than he was offering to anybody else. I want to be treated as an equal, not given special treatment. I mean, I didn't even consider myself like worthy to be a daughter anymore because of how I had acted. I would put in the work just like everybody else. And so when I got home, I made a stop to one of my favorite coffee houses. It's always been a special place for me. It's where I used to go when I needed just some time to think. It's where I had my Bible study with some friends in high school. And so I just sat outside and I started thinking through the way that I was going to approach my dad about this offer. And so I had finally thought through it. I was ready to go, and I stood up, was about to start my walk back home, and I saw my dad. And my heart dropped because I wasn't ready to see him, right? And I was about to duck back into the coffee house because I was so afraid to have this moment right here. Like I was planning on having the walk home to kind of figure all of this stuff out one more time. but it was too late. He had already seen me. And my stomach just like started twisting into knots, and my heart dropped. And he started running toward me. I was so afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so mad. Like, he did not expect to see me. And as he got closer, I realized he had put his arms out. And when he got near me, he just hugged me. And he was crying. And he said, I'm so glad you're home. And I was so confused at the first moment, because how had fate brought us together? So I asked him why he was at this coffee shop. My dad doesn't even drink coffee, so it's kind of weird. And he said, I knew this is where you would come first if you ever came back into town. So I've been coming here every afternoon to ask the barista if she had seen you that day. Y'all, I was overwhelmed. How could my dad do this after all that I had done to him? He grabbed me by the hand and he started leading me back to the car. And as we were walking, he pulled out his cell phone. He called my mom. He told her that I was home. And he said, start cooking Kenzie's favorite meal. I need the tacos. I need chips. Let's go get the fresh guacamole from her favorite restaurant down the street. I mean, literally all the stops are pulled out. By the time I got home, my family, my friends, they were all outside with smiles on their faces, so glad that I was back home. Nothing I had done had ever changed the way that my dad saw me or changed the way that he wanted to love me. No. If you haven't noticed the similarities, this is not actually my story, but it is a modern way of telling the story of the prodigal son from Luke 15, which is the story that we covered in Sunday school this morning. Sadie Robertson, who I love, rewrote this story as the tale of two sisters in her book, Live, and it has stuck with me ever since I read it. Do we really think about how this story happens to us today? Like, do we really understand the magnitude of acting out against our parents and then them seeking after us every day, cooking us our favorite meal, throwing a party, loving on us once we come back and apologize? I don't think we think about how big of a deal this story is. And I think this story sometimes gets diluted because we hear it so much. I mean, literally in the course of a year, I probably hear it 2 to 3 times in church or Sunday school or Bible study. But I encourage you to personalize it for yourself so that it doesn't lose its power. Our perfect Father, God, loves us so much, no matter what. He's waiting for us to come back home, and He's waiting for us to accept our place within the family. I hope that this retelling of the story made you think a little differently about the overwhelming love of our Father, and I hope that it can encourage you today and remind you that you're never too far to turn back to the heart of God. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.